The striped cane is as basic as the bullseye cane is, one of the most basic canes in polymer clay. I use again my faithful square cutter, and it's one of those with very sharp angled corners, not the rounded corners. These ones are cheaper actually than the rounded corners ones, but I like to use them because it avoids me having to measure and cut with the blade, and this way I know that I will have straight pieces that are equal. I ran my clay on the thickest setting on the pasta machine, and what I am doing is first getting the clay layered, stacked 2 sheets at a time, just to make sure that I don't go wrong, you know, misaligning or anything. It's much easier to work 2 at a time and then just put those 2 together. So once I got my 2, then I will put those 2 together, and thus I create the first building block of the striped cane. After I make sure that they are well stuck, I will measure them and cut the stack in 2. Now, of course, you can choose a different size of a cutter or not use a cutter at all and make a bigger cane than this, but this is about how big I make it for my own personal needs. So once I cut the stack in 2, I put the stack together, and then I will start manipulating it to reduce it a little, so I can make my whole striped part a little bit longer. I am cutting whatever edges don't seem perfectly aligned to me, so I would start with a perfectly aligned edged cane, after which I start manipulating it. As you can see, I gently squeeze it and gently pulling on it. Yes, I am pulling on it even if it doesn't seem like it. And then you might want to wiggle it a bit to loosen up the clay. Then you can start working with a roller on it. Don't go more than 1 pass with the roller and then turn the cane around 90 degrees. You might even want to turn it around 180 degrees, because sometimes your strokes will be stronger on one end and you don't want the cane to be smaller on one end than the other. Once the clay loosens up, it's much easier to work. You can also use this petting motion. It's like you would pet a cat. You don't press hard, just very slightly, but once you feel the clay moving, and you will feel it the moment you start pulling and it follows your pull, don't pull hard because you might crack the cane. But once it gets to the point that I can cut it in 2 manageable pieces, and then I will do so. Of course, I'm first cutting the ends to start. Always start with fresh ends whenever you are stacking the cane. And you see, it's so soft now that it will follow the slightest pull, so I can get it at easily divisible by 2 lengths. And then I cut it in 2, and then I stack the 2 halves, and I get a much longer striped cane. Now remember, never cut a cane against the stripe, perpendicular on the stripe, because you might smudge the stripes. Always cut in the direction of the stripe whenever you cut a stripe cane. So let's see how it looks like. And there you go, your very first striped cane. Happy claying!